Welcome to the Speakeasy. And I'm coming to you today from my living room. And why am I coming to you today from my living room? Because like most of you, I have been sitting in my living room day after day watching television or night after night or whatever, listening to the schmagegis in Washington talk about the debt ceiling. And this debt ceiling is the subject of today's speakers. What is wrong with these schmagegis? What is wrong with these people in Washington? These no-brained, pencil-neck schlemiels. They have run the debt up in this country to over $14 trillion. Does anybody out there have any conception of what $14 trillion is? No, of course not. Nobody has any conception of what $14 trillion is, including those morons in Washington. Well, I have a message for you, Mr. President, and I have a message to you, Mr. Speaker, and I have a message to you, Mitch McConnell, and everybody else in Washington there who is talking about this debt ceiling. The American people are fed up with this. It's garbage. Who in their right mind, Mr. President, the supposed leader of this country, who in their right mind would borrow money to pay back money that we already borrowed? That's like, it's insane. And members of my Slapawitz syndicate, let's make it simple. Let's say I, Izzy Slapawitz, came to any one of you and said, oh, you know, I'm a little short today. Can you lend me some money? Can you lend me some geld? Can I borrow $50? And you say, sure, Izzy. Here's $50. Pay it back in a year. And then next year comes around and it's time for me to pay the money back. And I come to you and I say, you know, I don't have the $50 you loaned me last year, but I really want to pay you back. So if you would be so kind to loan me another $50, I will use the $50 you loaned me today to pay you back the money that you loaned me last year. Would you do that? Of course you would. Nobody in their right mind would do that, and nobody in their right mind would expect anybody to go along with this horse manure. But the people in Washington expect it, and worse than that, they expect us, the American people, to believe in all this balderdash that they're pulling on us. They go to China, they go to Japan, they go to some other countries, and they borrow money. And they can't pay that money back. So then they borrow more money to pay that money back. And all the while, they're increasing our debt and our obligations. And you hear all these congressmen say, well, we're increasing the debt on our children, and this and that. Yes, we are increasing the debt on our children. And worse than that, we're putting ourselves, our national security, in the hands of countries like China, who wasn't long ago were our enemies that we were fighting on the battlefield. This is insane. These are lame-brained, insane schlemiels in Washington, and they're allowing it to happen. And they want to come up with deals. Oh, yeah, deal here, deal there. All their deals are what they call poppycock. They call them compromises. They're not compromises. These are all schemes to save their political tuckuses. You know what a tuckus is. If not here, right here, I'm pounding mine. and they insult us, the American people, with this charade. Then the president says, oh, well, you know, we can raise taxes on the rich people, the millionaires, the billionaires, maybe zillionaires, quadrillionaires to pay this debt. Let me tell you something, Mr. President. There are not enough millionaires and billionaires in this country to make a dent in that dent if you took all their money from them. And then who's going to create the jobs? Who's going to open up the businesses? Small business people. They pay taxes to their personal income. You know, if you people are stupid, I'm talking about the Congress now and the president, you can write it off and say, you know, these people are stupid. But these people aren't stupid. They want to make us think that they are stupid. They treat us like we are stupid. But these are very, very smart people. They're not dummies. Everything is calculated. Raise the debt. I want to raise the debt for anything. It's time for us to bite the bullet and start paying our obligations without borrowing more money. It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you are going to raise the debt, there was nothing wrong with putting a balanced budget amendment as a condition of that of raising that debt. Of saying, yes, we'll raise the debt, but you have to cut spending dollar for dollar for every dollar that the debt is raised, and that both the Congress and the Senate should vote on a balanced budget amendment that would later go to the states for approval. But no! He didn't like that. He didn't even put it up for debate. Why? Because as it stood, only 2 Democrats was what the Republicans needed to say, yes, let's pass that amendment. Let's pass that bill that called for a balanced budget amendment. We didn't have to wait for the amendment to be passed by the states, which is what these schmagegis and liars are trying to convince us on television. All they had to do was say yes. Okay, we'll pass a vote for a balanced budget amendment and send it to the states for approval. And all this would be over. Barack Obama, you want to solve the debt crisis? You want to cut money? Do what Boehner and the Republicans asked. What's that? Eliminate Obamacare. That's it. Most of the problem goes away. Your Obamacare, your precious Obamacare, that instead of lowering the cost of health insurance, which is what it's supposed to do, it raised the cost of health insurance for everybody that purchases health insurance. Everybody. The only people that helped were the people who didn't have it in the first place. But everybody who paid and was responsible to have health insurance, either through themselves or through their workplace, their premiums went up. My arms can't reach that high. You eliminate Obamacare. You eliminate the funding for Obamacare, which, by the way, we already started paying for, but we don't have yet. And a lot of this problem goes away. Then you find the other issues to cut, the other programs to cut. And believe you me, there's plenty of government waste. And every member of the Slapawitz Syndicate out there, and those of you who are not yet members of the Slapawitz Syndicate, know that there is plenty of government waste out there. Every time they open their mouths, waste products comes out. So here's a message to you, President Obama, who, by the way, you're not the king, Obama. You don't have the authority, you don't have the right to demand that anybody meet with you in the White House. You can ask politely, but you cannot demand. I can't use that language. Do you think you are? But there's a message for you, President Obama, And here's a message for you, John Boehner. And here's a message for you, Mitch McConnell. Oh, you should be ashamed of yourself for this fakakta idea you came up with giving the president unilateral authority to raise the limit. Here's a message for you. All of us, the people of the United States of America, the citizens of the United States of America, are watching this. They're watching this very, 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 very closely. The phones are ringing, but again, I don't think that's the president calling to say, Izzy, you're right. I really don't think so. The American people are watching you. We are watching this closer than we have ever watched any so-called debt limit crisis in the history of this country. We are watching you. We understand you. We hear what you're saying. And we know that each and every one of you are full of balderdash. Republicans, I'm telling you, stand your ground and do not increase the debt limit. And if you have to make a compromise, the only compromise you should make is for equal cuts to every dollar increased. No taxes, nothing else. Taxes will only hurt this country, and you know it. And Barack Obama, get off your high horse. They're watching you too. You arrogant man. You're a disgrace to the office you hold. Get off your high horse. Stop being so arrogant. And you have to understand that compromise doesn't mean doing anything that you want. That's not what compromise is. You want compromise? Accept the compromise that the debt limit will be increased at all in the first place. That's the biggest compromise you deserve. That's the only compromise the American people will stand for. And now I hope you all enjoyed the visit to my living room. And I will see you next time.